What's good, Meaningful Movers? Welcome back to Moving with Meaning, the podcast, where actions have meaning, words have meaning, and we open up the conversations to discover what's your next move. I'm your host, Krystal. In today's episode, let's talk about finding balance. We all have a high concentration of something. What's important is that we pass that something along to others who can benefit from it. But y'all know how it is and what we do. We need to set that theme, so let's go ahead and do that. The word of the day is diffusion. Okay, this certainly has a biology backbone to it, but I say let's use that logic and give it context. This is the process of having a substance in great abundance in one section and moving it around until the entire area reaches equilibrium. Imagine being depleted of a particular need, such as support, time, joy, compassion. You get my point. And finding a means to receive that in a way that is sensation-driven. That's enough of me talking. How about we introduce our guest? And there's no one better to do that than herself. Monselete, why don't you go ahead and give the people a bit of background about yourself and what you're going to share with us today?
Thanks so much, Krystal. My name is Monselete Bowden. I am a coach for lifestyle and well-being, and I guide individuals in mindset shifts, and I use scent to elevate the mood for transformative growth. I am also the visionary behind Aromatic Readings, which is a really cool, unique aromatic card reading experience where we delve into the 5 pillars of life and we'll uncover areas of imbalance and find ways to realign your energy for a greater clarity and balance. I hold a coaching credential from the International Coaching Federation. I am also a certified aromatherapist, and I have a license in astrology of science, and I'm super excited to be here today.
Me too. I got my diffuser running, okay?
Oh, I love it.
So it's on pumpkin spice because it's the fall. So we're going to come back to that in a second because I want to know what that means. So we're going to have some fun because this is so interesting. When we first talked about this, I was completely enthralled and I just want to know so much more about this. So how did you even get into sensations and things like that?
Yeah, 20 years ago, I was introduced to aromatherapy. I had a friend who was studying it, and I got 3 basic essential oils. I got tea tree, peppermint, and I think it was lavender. I took those home and I had it was called like a nebulizer. I had a little nebulizer where you put the oils in, sort of like a diffuser, and you put your head over it. And the first thing I immediately wanted to do was start mixing them up and formulating them. I didn't even know anything about them, but they changed my life. I had a lot of allergies and asthma, and they really started making a difference. And so that took me on the path of aromatherapy. I got certified. I was doing bodywork treatments. That led me into the spa industry. Fast forward maybe close to 20 years later to where we are now. For the past, 5 to 8 years, I've been doing coaching. I knew something was missing in coaching with my clients. And so I went back to the basics. I went back to what I knew, which was aromatherapy. And I feel that, even though we're smelling all day long, every time we open our mouth and breathing in, we're smelling, like whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
It's the most underutilized sense that I think we actually have. And yet it's the one thing sitting in the middle of our face that everybody's looking at all day long.
I like how you said that before, where it was like I was coaching and I was missing something, a wellness component in these sessions. I think that is so thoughtful and intuitive of you to really gauge the sessions and kind of say, I feel like there's more to not only just being repetitive in you know what I mean? Like when you've done coaching for so long, you kind of know what to look for and you kind of start to get real good at it. But then when you see, okay, I think we can take this further. We can go beyond the business aspect and get into just your overall well-being personally and how that still contributes to and translates to your professional realm. In one of the characteristics that you mentioned, there is a common characteristic related to overthinkers. What is that one?
They're always in their head. And, just because that's where strategy is, right? That's where solutions are. I see it with almost every business owner, anybody that's high performance is overthinking. And because of that, we sort of become disconnected to the body. It's hard when you get into this overthinking and you're always up in your mind. How do you get back into your body? Well, okay, you could go for a swim, you can go work out. But what if you're just sitting at your desk or you're in the middle of trying to figure something out? It's hard to have something in that moment to interrupt that pattern of thinking and get you back into your body. Scent does that.
You're right. I think I was watching Food Network this weekend, and one of the challenges was celery, like how to make celery shine. And it was weird because everyone's like, celery? Like, why would you? I'm like, well, don't y'all eat celery? And they're like, yeah, but it's never like the key focal point because it's so important, but it's so overlooked. You're right. Scent does that, but it's like you think about it, scent is a major component to taste. So tell me a little bit about your scent statistics.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we know one of my favorite statistics is that 75% of our daily emotions are affected by smell.
What?
Yeah,
Like what?
any smell. So, all of our daily emotions by 75% are just affected by what we smell every day, which says that if you can manage or control what you're smelling, that means you can somewhat have control over what your emotions are going to be. There's also a statistic that says pleasant scents can increase our feelings of happiness by 30%.
Yeah. I wonder, is that because it's linked to a memory?
Well, we know that when you smell something, it goes through the olfactory system, so up through the nose. All smell goes directly to the limbic system, which is closely linked to our emotional and our memory. And so that's why, one, smell does link us to past memories, and it can create new memories for us, positive or negative. And there's also emotions attached to that because everything's happening that when we smell, it's all going to the limbic system.
Huh. Okay. Now, you also said something that was really kind of interesting as well attached to smell. You got so much going on with smell. This is just insane. But smell is an interrupter of thoughts. When we're actually in the process of thinking, it can actually interrupt that.
I think so.
What you mean? Tell me.
Well, I don't really believe we can smell and think at the same time. So the minute you smell something, you literally have created a pattern interrupt. You know, you've literally stopped that moment of thinking. Maybe it's a millisecond of thinking those thoughts or the thoughts you continue to think. So the minute you smell, you've stopped your mind in that split second. We know scientifically that scent goes through the olfactory system to the limbic system, and there's receptors that can move into the brain, right? That can create different types of feelings and emotions. And so, yes, it's almost like something that's very common is, you know, you're in a really angry mood, you're so pissed off, so you're going to put that favorite song on. And all of a sudden at the end of that song, you're like, okay, I don't hate that person. I'm just like mad. For whatever reason, the sense, you know, the sensory of the sound has affected your mind and created a different thought pattern. And so scent does the same thing. It's just probably more subtle.
That's interesting. You're right. Like, who doesn't listen to this song when they're like breaking up with their boyfriend or something? You know, like they have that go-to song.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've linked scent to taste. Is scent also linked to other senses that heighten them as well?
That's a good question. I would say, and I don't know the statistics on this, but I think it's all connected, right? So we know that scent is connected to memory because we have memories attached to scent. So yes, I think scent is going to enhance and affect your taste. And we know that through COVID. I don't think anybody really knew how much they depended on their sense of smell until they lost their sense of smell in COVID. Or people, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of people that lose their sense of smell and they have to retrain it to get it back. So through taste, through eating, I would say definitely through memories and emotions, it's connected. I don't know if it's so connected to visual intuition, but I think it might enhance it to some degree. It might enhance the concentration. We know if we smell rosemary, we're going to have better concentration. So maybe that would affect the visualization.
I think so. Like if we were to talk to someone who was blind or deaf, how much they rely on these other senses to create the sound or create the vision.
Yes.
I think that's very true.
Yeah. We're getting more and more studies on oils nowadays because so many people love statistics. And, you know, they've even done studies where they've done specific essential oils and ones grouped together. There was a study done on bergamot that just smelling bergamot for, you know, a period of 10 minutes reduced anxiety by 90% in people getting ready for a dental procedure.
Oh.
Yeah. They say smelling bergamot essential oil will affect your positive energy just after 15 minutes of smelling it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's also calming.
Yeah, right. So those people who really want to see the studies, they're out there, you know. But I think it's so much more than that. It's really just allowing them to be a part of your lifestyle
Yeah.
so they can enhance every part of your lifestyle.
Yeah. We'll bring it to the forefront. So you
Yeah.
mentioned 5 pillars. Tell me
Yes.
about these 5 pillars. What's going on with these 5 pillars?
So I believe that we have 5 pillars in life, pretty common, and they're all connected, which are well-being, relationships, business, career, prosperity, and our intuition. And when one is out of balance, they're probably all out of balance, or maybe you think one area is your struggle when it turns out something else is really the culprit.
Mm.
Yeah. And so a lot of times we might think that we're having a lot of career issues when maybe it's really something that's going on at home, or maybe you're really happy in your career, but you're blaming your career for being frustrated, but it's something going on maybe with your well-being or how you're feeling or your health. So I don't think that we cannot look at all of them individually. I think they have to be looked at as a whole, and they have to be consistently worked on as a whole.
Yeah. I think that's been the situation with just as where we are today, is that driving pillars holistic. We got to look at the body as a whole and how different parts affect other areas, and just bringing biology back to the forefront, even the natural homeopathic, right? This is really what's going on. It's interesting because it's so simple. It's so easy. And maybe it's because of the simplicity that makes it so uncommon. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I mean, you know, we live in a day where everybody's a specialist. They're the
Mm-hmm.
expert in one thing, and that crosses the medical board. There's individual specialists as doctors, which is great. That's fabulous, right? We're evolving in that way. But I think when you start to say, I'm the specialist in this one area of your body, and I'm not looking at any other part of your body, I don't know how you do separate those, because they're all connected. You know,
Absolutely.
we can't cut off our arm and say, take a look at my arm and see what's wrong with it, and not address the rest of my body, because my arm's attached to my body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so there is this new sort of thing, I think, in the past 15 years where being a specialist, being an expert in this one field, in this one area is really great. But I think what we have lost is we're losing that holistic approach, which is addressing all the areas as a whole.
For
You know,
sure.
and I don't know what that answer looks like medically, because that's not my field, but I do think it's going to have to be addressed at some point. Or maybe it's about working with multiple doctors, you know, versus just isolating every problem individually. Because I think you and I both know, I mean, I think we agree, problems aren't typically isolated, deduced down to one thing. There's multiple factors.
Yeah. The only thing that comes up to my mind is in marketing, they deal with targeting. So they go at one particular niche or one particular market or demographic in that market. They're doing it because they're trying to position themselves a certain way. And so if we looked at this, our health, the same way, then we would broaden that targeting field and not look at it from a specialization perspective. I'm trying to think of, like, unless it was, even when I had like gut issues, it's linked to anxiety. It's linked to so many things. And I remember I was having that, and it was like we were trying all these different typical things that you would look at, something like Crohn's disease. Like, I was getting freaked out. Like, what is going on here? And it just came down to, okay, you know, you kind of just need to go to therapy. Because once I started talking about a lot of the things that I was holding in and feeling insecure about and all that kind of stuff, the issues started to go away a little bit. They started to subside. And it's just how much your mind and your head works. And then, like, you start talking about all these different systems, the nervous systems, and they're just linked, hands down. And you could just overcomplicate something so quickly. It's crazy how quick it can get out of control. Now, you mentioned in your 5 pillars of life, one was well-being, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I hear about well-being, and this might be a definition, because, you know, I already said words matter. So do definitions.
Yeah.
So every time I look up well-being, it's like that is the term that's used, holistic, right? But for you, it was just one pillar, you know? So how is that well-being completely different from another one? What was the last one you said? Like, was it intuition?
Mm-hmm. Intuition.
Yeah, let's take that one. Well-being and intuition. How are those different?
Sure. So when I think of well-being, I'm encompassing your sleep, your health, your exercise, your eating, how you feel. Are you meditating? Are you nervous energetically? Is your cortisol high? So it's really overall like, where is, if there's any struggle in the well-being, is it in any of those areas? That's when I think
Mm-hmm.
about well-being for this category.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I think about intuition, that pillar was originally called spirituality.
Uh-huh.
And, that has its own stigma to it. And also it has a lot of different definitions to it. And so I change it to intuition because when I'm working with people on the aromatic card reading, we are using their intuition to guide them. But when I think about intuition, I think about connecting to your body, being in your gut, really listening to what that little voice is telling you or not telling you. That's what I think about when I think about intuition. And when I think about intuition in that pillar, I really think about, we have this natural intuition, this inner voice that's going to sort of light the way for us. And, we might trust it or we might not.
Oh.
The people I work with are so in their head, they've forgotten that they have, like they don't even listen to it because they're never in their body, like never. And I think you've got to be connected. And again, it goes to that disconnect, we can't disconnect our body from our head. It's connected. It's there. If we don't connect the two, we do lose missing our intuition. I think that is also when we start to have a lot of health issues because our body's going to tell us when it's not feeling good,
Yeah.
And if we aren't in our body, we're not going to hear that until it's too late.
That's so cool. That's a really good distinction. Very good. I thought I had you. That was good. That was good. So you mentioned briefly readings, and that's the first thing I was like, wait a minute, are we doing like card readings or what you mean? So tell me a little bit about your aromatic readings.
Thank you. And you're not the first person to respond just like that. So I don't read your future. Maybe one day I'll learn how, but it isn't like tarot reading. It's really a card reading that's sort of fun and playful. It's allowing the person to come and have an experience without feeling like they've got to show up and commit to. So, I feel like so many times people show up to coaching. They're like, oh my God, I've got to have these goals and I got to know my purpose. And I don't know. And it's like, okay, we don't have to start there. The card reading is one to create just a fun experience to come play and sort of get to know yourself better. And we use these cards to use your own intuition. We work through visuals of images, and then you would love it, words. We draw cards that have words on them. And then we explore what those words might be in their life, whether it's in the present or the future. And then at the end of this entire card reading, you choose virtually, by the way, this is virtual, you get to choose which card you like best. And what you don't realize is the card you've chosen is actually a scent. And that scent gets mailed to you. And then that little bottle with the scent that you chose for you, for whatever was happening in that time of our conversation, becomes your little companion. And you roll it on throughout the day. It sort of becomes your aromatic anchor. You've got the words to use with it that are related to maybe what's happening in your life.
That is so cool. I really like your word usage. You're great too. Aromatic anchor? It's like it just grounds you. It brings you back to the present and into your body, to where you are today. We're not in that moment because it's past. It's happened. We're back here. We're back home. That's so awesome. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And the compatibility aspect, because this is the first time I've heard scent companion. We've had pet companions, right? So when I hear companion, it's like a moving thing.
Yeah, you're right.
That's so cool.
It is, because people have you can go, I'm sure you have too. I mean, I have coaches and I have these amazing sessions, but then you leave and after a couple of weeks, it's kind of like you might be in that funk again, or you're back up in your head again. Well, now you've got something that you have to do and there's no work to it. It's not like something that you have to go work to do it, which I think a lot of us are tired of having that as well. A to-do list of things, and you chose it, you chose it without even smelling it. It was all by your visual and your gut intuition. And that, I think, is the exciting piece, is that when you get that box mailed to you and you open it up and you don't even know what that smell is and you smell it, like, oh my gosh, like this is what I chose.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. And it's so surprising. I don't know anybody who doesn't like to receive gifts, first of all. And this is a gift to yourself. How often do we do that for ourselves? That is so cool. Look at how you're working up some good magic here. I am so just enthralled with this, like scent companions. That is just so cool. So you have them and they come in what kind of forms? Because I heard you say roll on. So it's like the little
Yep. It's just a 5 ml bottle.
Mm-hmm.
It comes as a roll on. It doesn't come in an oil. It actually comes in a serum. So a lot of people who use roll on essential oils probably know that it's an oil form that they rub on. This is in a serum, so it's amazing for the skin. It sinks right into the skin, so there's no residue left over. And it's small enough to fit into your pocket, your bag. You can take it on carry-on travel. I'm all about making it as simple as possible for my own life. And so that's what I wanted to help with other people is, make it super simple. So I have some that just sit at my desk. I use them throughout the day while I'm on the computer. You can take them with you, but they're all in a roll-on format.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some types of aromatic blends? Sometimes it's not just one scent, like you mentioned bergamot.
Yeah, multiples. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time developing the scents, and they all the scents are going to be supportive in the different categories. So depending on which category is yours. So one well-being scent would be Roman chamomile, Siam wood, and lavender. That would maybe be a blend.
Mm.
For relationships, I have one that's got neroli and vanilla and wild orange. And
That sounds really good.
yeah.
I love fresh, like lemon and apple. Like
Citrus.
Yes.
You like citrus?
Oh, yes. Yes,
Let me think what else I have with citrus in it.
It's okay.
There's 10. Well, this one's great. This one is all about prosperity, endless possibility. So this would be bergamot, grapefruit, and ylang-ylang. So it's a nice,
Wow.
yeah, citrusy. So they're lovely. They really are.
Okay. So now that you've heard of what I had in my diffuser, pumpkin spice. So that's like, what I don't know, what is it? Like cinnamon and nutmeg. I don't know, whatever.
Probably cinnamon, maybe nutmeg, maybe clove.
Yeah.
So that would be grounding, I think uplifting, getting to the roots. There might be some vanilla in there or something similar, maybe a resin, that could be, which resins have been used for, 4,000 years plus, like frankincense a resin, myrrh's a resin. So I would say grounding, uplifting, but soothing, soothing. When I think about also the spices, I think warming. So maybe you're feeling like warming the body, warming yourself up.
Yes, I am. I keep it cold in my house on purpose, but I like to create the sensation of needing to be cozy.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow. That was not prepared, folks. It was not scripted. It was completely Monselete. 100%. My goodness. And this is the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is I'm so glad that I have you on here because I believe that this should be reached out to further individuals. So like when I mentioned that marketing piece, different demographics don't have as much access to this kind of information or this other way of refreshment and healing. And for me, this is, specifically, I'm talking about the African American community because that's where I'm at. But I wanted to bring this to my audience. I wanted to bring that for everyone to kind of really look at this because we're interested in that. Like, I think for some reason, there's just always this, assumption that, we're not going to, it's like, no. Like, we love scents, the coconut oil and all that kind of stuff. We love that. So I really appreciate you for coming on here and sharing that to this whole community. And I hope that they do reach out to you for just, like you said, just come check her out for a reading, folks, and just see what you can come up with. See the gift that you can give back to yourselves. I think that is beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And, I love working with all walks of life, as long as they want to show up and go deep. I always say I like to work with the mermaids, the people that want to go below the ice and below the water, the surface level, and swim deep, get into the deep end. Yeah, a gift for yourself. And also to almost every single person walks away, whether they work with me again or they just have one reading, they always walk away trusting themselves again.
Yeah.
Especially for women. I think sometimes we forget how to trust ourselves with so much now, so much self-development and so many things that are out there nibbling at all of our ears. I think we forget that we know what we need. Like you knew what blend you needed in that diffuser today. And so if I can help anybody remind themselves of how their gut, their intuition, it is there and it's true, that's my honor to be able to do that.
I mean, that's great. That was great. So I'm just going to ask. You tell me if you got any.
All right.
Do you have any golden nuggets that you want to add to ketchup just to recap?
Well, because I'm a coach, I always love to end with a question as my nugget.
Okay.
So, my
Yeah.
question that I am going to leave with your audience to ponder would be, what belief are you holding on to that might be holding you back?
That's a good one. Challenge accepted, folks. Well, that's the episode. What a sensational conversation we had today to zoom in on a particular sense that drives so many emotions, triggers memories, influences appetite, and intensifies our other sensations. Well, that's just brilliant. I've heard of athletic, human, and work compatibility, but a scent companion? Consider me mind blown. I truly appreciate Monselete for sharing such a powerful wellness supplement and diving nose first into the world of aromatic blends. Can any of you relate to the mood boosting effects of aromatherapy? Which of the 5 pillars of life hit you the hardest? I love it all, and so will someone else. Before I let you go, Monselete, why don't you go ahead and remind the people who you are, where they can find your resources, or reach out to you?
Thank you. You can find me on my website at monselete.com. I'll spell that for the listeners. MONSELETE.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. If you liked what you heard today, you can download my free guide, which might be in your show notes or on my website, called Elevate Your Mood. All kinds of ways to simply elevate your mood. And if you want the free guide, you can DM guide on my DM messenger.
Awesome. If she asks, let them know Moving With Meaning the podcast sent you. I'll make sure to include all of Monselete's resources and connections in the episode description, as well as on my website's resources page, movingwithmeaning.com. Make sure you guys subscribe to the show, Moving With Meaning the podcast, and tap that alert bell so you know when these episodes drop. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube Music. Please share, like, repost, and follow. Tag someone. We are creating a community. Quick housekeeping before you go. Follow me on Instagram at movingwithmeaning82 and on Pinterest at Arthur KB Clark. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I do dabble in TikTok at Krystal B. Clark. My Etsy store has some handy dandy digital downloads. Lastly, run over to YouTube channel and have a look or two. Links are in the episode. Alrighty, I'm Krystal on Moving With Meaning the podcast, reminding you to take it one step at a time. All moves have meaning. Check y'all later.